welcome to Drop the Mic. This is Jim and somebody's trusty sidekick, Will, and we are here today to discuss the important things of life that Mike doesn't normally discuss.
Like life insurance.
Life insurance? No, not life insurance. I did have a question that I wanted to ask Mike, and since he's not here, I'm going to put it up front with you before we go too far into this. But I wanted to know how he thought AI would affect the influence of the prosperity gospel with the feminist Muslims, and if he felt that it would increase the power of the globalists, which would lead to an earlier appearance of the beast in the end times or not. But since he's not here, we'll have to table that one for an Ask the Pastor question later.
And talk about the Nephilim instead.
Yes. Well, I know that, he doesn't like that one quite as much, so we can handle that.
Well, hey, I want to do some introducing now.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, this is not Mike Reiner, your lead pastor of Harvest Church. This is my good buddy, Jim Seagriff. You always say Seagriff.
Yes.
Spelled Seagriff.
Yes.
But
I mispronounce my own name as much as I mispronounce everything else that I say.
And he claims to be one of the 5 people who listen to this podcast regularly.
Yes. I found out Debbie and her husband are 2 of the other ones, so we're still on that quest to find the other 2. So I know my good friend from way back, Russ, listens to it also because I see him comment occasionally.
So we got like 6 total viewers?
I think so.
So today we're going to be down.
Yeah.
Because you're on the show.
I will not watch myself. I made that mistake when I did what was I doing?
I don't know.
Stage. I can't believe
Scripture reading? Or
no, not the scripture reading. I can't
When
read.
you did a crave thing?
No, it was I was doing communion of all things, which is kind of regular here at Harvest. And yes, so it was recorded one time. I watched it that one time, and then I decided I will not watch it ever again.
Yeah, all you faithful viewers out there, the 5 of you, if you ever get an opportunity to be on here, you'll find out it's not as fun listening to yourself as you might think. So why do we have Jim on today? Well, I got to tell you, Jim's got a crazy life story like we all do, and he asked if he could come on the podcast and talk about it a little bit. And Jim is one of our pick up along the ways. So we gathered you in as we got Freeport Community Church.
Well,
kind of.
It wasn't exactly like that. I had left down there. Maybe it'd be easier if I tell that.
Well, why don't we get there in the story?
Okay.
So I would say today's a special one for me because Jim is one of the guys in my life, which when you come on staff as a church and become a pastor, your relationship dynamics change. Jim is one of the guys in the church that I feel super comfortable around, calls me out on my BS all the time when I need it, and is a great Christian brother. And so I know that there's going to be a lot for us to learn as fellow Christians as we walk through life together today. So anything you want to say before we get going?
Well, I would say you don't have that much BS, but it is a burden. But it's my burden to bear. So
you seem to relish it pretty good when you get opportunities.
Well, I do, and again, I hope as a Christian brother that you and I have that relationship that we would call each other out on anything, even the little details that need called out. And for you guys out there, make sure you are calling your brothers out. Do it in love. Do it the right way. But you need accountability with friends. So,
yeah, Mike says all the time, the wounds of a friend are faithful, right? It's right out of the Bible. And, it's good. It's a good word. We'll talk about that stuff another
we
time.
Can get there.
So why don't we start way back at the beginning? Where did you grow up? You from around the area?
So, no, I originally, depending on what area you're talking about, I was out of Freeport. I lived in Freeport.
That's the area?
Come on, man. Well, that's what I would agree. I look at Armstrong County as kind of the area. I was born down in the Trona Heights, but by the time I was 5, we were living in Freeport. It's pretty much a townie all my life. Grew up there, lived just for a few months out here and there. Did a little bit of the college thing. My pre-Christian habits of drinking a lot kept me from completing those studies at Clarion University. But no, God had a plan for me, and it's all good now. So.
Well, I don't want to jump straight to college. So you grew up in illustrious downtown Freeport, which
the booming metropolis.
Which probably actually was much more of a booming. How do you mind sharing how old you are?
I am 50 now.
You're 50.
Yes.
So Freeport look a lot different when you were a kid than now?
Yeah, there's a lot of empty lots down in Freeport that used to be businesses,
Did they have a mill? They didn't have a mill.
No, they didn't. They had the brickyard. The brickyard was running. It was, it hired some. It wasn't booming like in the early days, like when I was young. But I think I was at the tail end of it. But Freeport brick was a big thing. You used to, you could go anywhere around Western PA. You'd find Freeport brick somewhere lying in a driveway and such.
So it was like all these river towns we have now on the Allegheny and the Kiskee. It was much more economically dynamic than they are now, right?
A lot of people working at Allegheny led them down there, too.
Yeah.
When they'd hired, almost everybody in the valley at one time,
So what was life like growing up in the 40s?
Late 40s.
So let's see. If you're 50, when did you grow up? The 80s?
Yeah, 80s into the 90s. I was born in 75, so, I kind of had that nice mixture. Right at the end of the Generation X, the last people that appreciated drinking from the water hose. I was young for Reagan.
So you didn't get to vote for Reagan, but you grew up in the Reagan era.
I knew who he was because my father was a staunch Democrat, so Reagan's name came up often in the house.
Okay. Anything stick out about riding bikes around Freeport?
Yeah, that was back in the time.
Trouble?
You got up in the morning, you jumped on your bike, and you just found the guys. You all went playing, you rode around together. My backyard was where we played wiffle ball at the younger age. It always started, everyone playing wiffle ball. It always ended in a fight, rolling around in the yard. Next day, everybody was back playing again like nothing happened. We got older, it turned to deck hockey, street hocky.
Yes, I played a ton of street hockey.
On the alleys and stuff.
And you got pulled the nets.
Yep. So, that was it. You did a lot of that. And then what happens is you eventually get to that age that hanging out and playing sports wasn't as fun as, doing stupid things, like maybe smashing pumpkins at Halloween and things like that I seen my other friends do that I stayed away from.
Yes.
So
statute of limitations.
Right. But it's a small community. Everybody knew you. So when you did screw up, everybody knew who did it, which was a good thing. It kept you in check. But we still respected people too. Like walking down the sidewalk. I'd be with a crowd of my buddies and we'd be walking on a sidewalk, and if somebody was walking the other way, we'd all step out into the street, you don't get that now in any community that I see. Everybody's themselves and
lost in their own
we
world.
Respected the people around us even if we were idiots. You
weren't absorbed in phones yet.
No.
Any version of Christianity or religion in your house or in your life when you were young?
We went to the Presbyterian church infrequently.
Did you get dunked as a baby or sprinkled?
Yes, I got sprinkled. I actually, because my father was Catholic and my mother was Presbyterian, I got
you got double?
I got baptized at the Catholic church.
Double sprinkled.
Yes, and then I joined the Presbyterian church when I was 12, but I wasn't saved yet at that point. But that was what you did.
You know that looking back.
Yes, yeah. At the time I went, I joined the church. I was Presbyterian the same as I'm Scotch Irish. That's what my parents did.
Yeah. But even that being the case, was it like a fixture in your life? Did you go to church every week?
No. I went to church infrequently. As I got older, I went to my friend's church a little bit more because they had the youth group. And they did stuff like go on mission trips and stuff, which I enjoyed. But I realized, again, looking back, that it was more of a something I wanted to do thing. It wasn't like a call. You know what I mean? If you... I always say that there's Peters and Pauls in the world, right?
I've never heard this.
No? Okay, so a Peter is one of those people that grew up in the church. They were saved at a young age, like most of our kids ministry. You know what I mean? Like kids know more about the Bible than I do. Like you've got those. I call those the Peters, right? Peter was with Jesus from the beginning. He wasn't perfect and all that, but he was with Jesus from the beginning. I'm like the Paul, right? I needed to get smacked on the back of the head at a much later point in time. And I think that those people who did come to Christ later in life can relate to what I'm saying. Like, that there was a change in your life. There was a change in your thinking. And you may not even be able to completely explain that,
Yeah.
But there was a difference between what I did when I was younger and even when I thought that I was Christian, before I just declared atheism, but we didn't get to that part yet. From when I thought that I was a Christian, because I wouldn't even call it saved back then. You know what I mean? Like I was a Presbyterian, versus later in life when things change, like it, and the Bible even says, like not to discourage people, because we all have those moments of not being sure about our salvation at some point.
What?
But the fact is that when you're saved, and if someone's walking around saying, well, I'm not sure if I'm going to heaven or not, I do this, I do that. The fact is they're either like Will with all kind of anxiety disorders or maybe they're not saved. That's just this guy's opinion. But anyways.
So you're definitely not saved, but you're in the Christian sphere. So
Yeah.
Christmas and Easter.
Oh, yeah, you had to go to church Christmas and Easter, looking for the Easter eggs out in the yard at church. And
Do you have any recollection of an impact of being at church even though you weren't saved? Like, I can remember being in the Catholic Church as a kid and not being saved or a Christian, but, like, definitely still impacted my thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like you mentioned that, and I was but then the conversation when we were earlier with your daughter came in and said how she was calling her teachers by like Aunt and Grammy, right?
Yeah.
Like when I was at church, like all the teachers was Aunt this, Aunt that. You know what I mean? It was like a small family. You know what I mean? And everything we did out there in Clinton was where it was out, South Buffalo, like. After church, you were swimming at Aunt Joan's house, like in the river and stuff. You know what I mean? So even though I wasn't a believer, like I wasn't saved, the church still, the people that I was around were. You know what I mean? They treated people like family with love and things like that.
It was still the social center of the community.
Yes.
Right.
Strawberry festivals during the summer still, things like that.
Yeah. Okay, so where do we go from here? Where'd you go to high school?
Freeport High School. 93.
Freeport still has a high school, right?
Yes, they do. They just built a new middle school.
Anything you want to talk about high school?
Well, I mean, I had one of my 8th grade art teachers. I'll tell you just how much life swings. Is I had the art in 7th grade, and then in 8th grade I was walking down the hall roughhousing with some buddies, and the teacher looked me right in the eye and says, "Jim, you used to be such a good kid. I don't know what happened." So if you want to see like that turning point in somebody's life, it was probably in that junior high age group there. Like I can remember, you get those certain things in life you remember vividly, and yeah, like he called me out for me causing mayhem in the hall, but went through high school, got into boozing with the buddies and stuff around 14, 15, I wouldn't call it alcoholism. It was just partying and screwing around yet. But that was my high school gig. Like, I didn't do the sports and anything, but everybody knew that when it was time to plan for the Friday night party, Jim was the guy to go look up and see what was happening.
Yeah.
Plus, I was able to get the 6-packs at the bar at the age of 15 because I had a nice goatee going already then.
All right.
Yeah, so.
I had one of those friends.
Yeah, and everyone did. I was that guy. So there's a lot of people that have fallen in.
I knew it was the 80s.
Yeah.
It's probably easier.
Well, we were getting into the 90s. Now we're getting into the 90s.
It was like easier then.
Things were a lot different then,
So you were the party guy, and you took that with you to Clarion.
Yes.
What did you go to Clarion University thinking you were going to learn?
I went to school to teach math, teach high school math.
Math?
Yes, of all things.
Shock of all shocks.
Yes.
Sunshine, were you ready for that? Did you know he was a math guy?
I might have known because I feel that doesn't surprise me.
See, because she's
but also,
intelligent.
my dad went for math.
Surprises the crud out of me.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to teach math. I enjoyed math. Like in ninth grade, I failed algebra. Like I hated everything about it, and then something happened with the 10th grade teacher in geometry, and then boom, like it all just started to click.
Did you do well in math even though you were partying and not caring?
Yes. Yeah, she got mad. The same teacher I had in 10th grade, I had as a senior, and she was one of those. She sent the book home with my mom so that I would do my homework and everything, but I'd still get B's by not doing any homework. I was that guy.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I could skate by, so it was hard to keep me in line.
Yeah. And so you went to Clarion, like you wanted to be a teacher.
Yes.
But couldn't kick the partying bug.
Yeah. It started, I did well at first because, like, your first semester at college is like all the classes you just had in high school, just in a more condensed version. And again, I could skate through it all. I'd show up, listen to a couple lectures. Then I found it like, well, I don't necessarily have to show up all the time, and still do it. And then, because I partied, you were never in class on a Friday because Thursday first. I don't know how things are now, but Clarion was what they call suitcase college, right? Like a lot of kids went home on the weekends.
Yeah,
because
they were Monday through Thursday.
Yeah, so Friday they all went home. So the big parties were Thursday night. So that was, me like Thursday night. So Friday, nothing ever got accomplished. Got into a fraternity and such, which was, even worse because then I could really slack off. When you're in a fraternity, you always can find a friend who doesn't have class at the time to screw around with. So
I see a lot of resemblances between our histories here. I heard you use the word already. At some point you considered yourself an atheist.
Yes.
When do you have recollection of like when you made the intellectual turn from I'm nominally a Presbyterian, whatever that means socially, even if it means nothing else, to I don't want to be associated with that anymore? It was like almost a negative. Did that happen in college or was that after?
That was during college, and it wasn't necessarily anything at Clarion, but shortly after I returned back to community college. After failing, I was working. I was trying to go back, and I realized that when I got into a couple classes and stuff, I started pushing evolution more and started getting more scientifically minded on everything. And Christianity was just for people that were afraid to be dirt after they died, was my thinking. Like I hated when people started trying to preach, like it frustrated me, infuriated me when people were
Why did it make you so
talking
mad?
gospel. Because I was not saved.
I know that. Back then, what would have Jim said?
Because
what would have 1995
I was
Jim
mad
said?
because
why are you so mad?
Because they were fooling themselves. If they would just open up their minds to science, to math, to facts, to truth, tangible things, we could get past all that silly stuff and we can move on as a civilization. Like you're fooling yourself. There's no reason to be following that. And I stuck to it. I called out a pastor's kid when we were doing. I was just to jump ahead. When I was going back to school, I went to Slippery Rock for a short while for geology and environmental science, and we did a research project out in the Badlands. And one of the other students was a preacher's kid, and he's reading his Bible. And like I was going nuts. like you're in geology and environmental science, and you're here reading your Bible. Like I was that guy. Guy. And I didn't hate everybody. Like I didn't just like go tear into people. I was still the nice guy because I had to party with somebody.
Yeah, but my guess is you. I mean, would you say you were mad about it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I just taught apologetics the last couple of days at Grace Christian High School down the road, and we were talking about this. Is there actually honest, respectful debate with atheists? And I said often not, because the word I always challenge is honest, and I think the Bible's clear on this. It's in Romans 1, they suppress the truth in unrighteousness, right? And it's really because when you see the Christian, I think you start to either even subconsciously like feel the weight of your condemnation. It's why I think personally, but this is just one guy's opinion, it's why they get so mad. Like why? How do I explain why young Jim was so mad because some dude was just over there reading his Bible?
Right.
Right? It's not like, oh, you're foolish, but I'm indifferent. Like, why would I don't get mad all the time when I see people being foolish.
If I see someone reading a newspaper, it doesn't.
Yeah,
or a book that I think's terrible, I don't get upset about it.
Yeah, if I see him reading like what are the tabloids you see at the grocery store, it's like I might be like, oh, that's silly to read, but I don't get
you just
upset
brush it off
and mad about it. But
it definitely was different. It was a a hatred for Christianity. You know what I mean? And again, once you're saved and can look back at it, you realize how irrational it is. But at the time,
we're rational if you're feeling the weight of your sin.
Well, yeah,
right. If you love your sin, you don't want to give it up, and
but
the thought that there's a judge in heaven.
But the fact is, 1995, Jim didn't feel he wasn't sinning because there was no sin,
and I was just fine.
Yep. I was good. I was a good, I had that whole thing. If there was a God, I do good things. I'm a good person, and I'll be okay anyways.
I would say somewhere deep down, it wasn't that clean, or you wouldn't have been mad at the guy reading his Bible.
I will not disagree with you at all on that.
So you flunk out of Clarion? Or did you drop out?
I dropped out. It was kind of a mutual agreement.
The writing was on the wall. You're not getting this piece of paper. My
father kind of realized that I wasn't going to class for a while, and then during hunting season, which was right before finals, right? Like we, my uncle's camp is near Clarion, so Dad picks me up. We go over, and then we drive back to my house where I'm living in the fraternity house, and he's like, "Go get your crap. I'm taking you home." That was.
How did he figure it out?
I don't know. He was a father. My father was a very wise man. My father was a great guy. Love him dearly. I miss him. And he was one of those guys who had that intuition. You know what I mean? That when something wasn't right,
So it's not like you ever got caught in anything or. Were you failing? Were your grades terrible?
Well, yeah, my grades were starting to plummet. That last one, because the last semester I was there, I wasn't showing up for class for ever.
Did he get your grades in the mail? Maybe
I don't know. He wanted. I don't think he would have because it was still the finals haven't came yet. You know what I mean? I already was on probation though, because skating through in high school I got B's. Skating through in college was C's, and then I failed my analytical calculus class because it was right after lunch. So, you're with your buddies at lunchtime. You got, calculus is right here, the dorm's right over there. Yeah, everyone else is headed to the dorm.
Yeah.
That was.
Well, and when you're already getting C's, you're on the edge already.
Right. Yeah.
Of probation. So what the heck are you gonna do now? Can't be a math teacher without.
Yeah,
a degree.
So I was sitting playing video games on the old man's couch.
They had those in the 90s?
Yes. It was the original PlayStation. It was the first game that actually had the compact disc, the CDs is all the kids call them.
Compact disc.
Had the CD style games.
See, the new kids, Sunshine doesn't even know what that is. It's a plastic disc. It's about 5 inches across. I'm joking.
Sometimes kids hang them on their mirrors now to reflect light. Yeah. So anyways, this was the new technology. So me and my brother, we went in halves on buying a PlayStation because this is it. This is the end of the technology. This is as good as it will ever get, And of course, 2 years later, they came up with something different. But so I'm playing Tomb Raider, on the couch. And
yes, I remember that PS1 Tomb Raider.
And my dad comes in and it's like, "Hey, your uncle says his place is looking to hire. Go get a job." So I go, and he was in the HVAC field, and which was a blessing. Again, when you look back at life, you see where God's provision, took you through things.
Because that's what you do now.
Well, now I'm the boss, but yes, that is my background. It's what I've got 20-some years in experience with.
HVAC.
Yes.
So you go work for your uncle.
I work with him. He
His
didn't own
place
it, but
was
his
hiring.
place was hiring. So they found out quick I could learn fast. Another thing that probably shocks you, but so I started out as a helper. Quickly learned how to do that. Then I was a lead installer. Within just a year and a half, and then they realized I could fix things. So they sent me to a couple of classes, and then. And another one that'll surprise you there, Sunshine, is they put a pager in my hand. It's this little black box that beeps when they want you for something. So they hand you a pager
For
and a
you young
clipboard.
people, a pager just makes a noise. You clip it to your belt. You look real cool. And then it goes beep, 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 beep. And it shows you a phone number of someone that's beeping your pager. And then you have to go to a phone somewhere, which they used to be screwed into the walls, and type the phone number of who was paging you to call them back.
Right.
It's like the precursor to a cell phone.
Right. And back in that day, HVAC service technicians had them, and drug dealers. Those were the two people that would have a pager.
My mom had one. She was a nurse. So.
Oh, well, okay, nurse. I was going to say, you better question what your mother is
You better
up to.
watch your mouth, sir.
We're not going to bring moms into this.
Yeah,
I don't
we don't
want
want the bakers getting
calling
mad.
up crying because I didn't talk about their mom on the show again. But anyhow.
So you get a pager, so you're doing well. Still atheist.
Yep.
Still partying.
Oh, yeah, drinking regularly. I had to quit drinking, too. We went to karaoke Tuesday nights, like every Tuesday regularly. But when I got into the HVAC field, when I'd be making the ductwork out of sheet metal, I started, when you're marking the edges, you would like spin the metal on the bench. Well, I was too hungover to get my hand out of the way, and I started cutting myself frequently. So I stopped drinking as much on Tuesday nights, but it was at least 3 to 4 nights a week, still drinking, partying, living at home. So, you just burnt your money.
Oh, yeah. I've been there.
Yeah.
And then, and so you're still not married? You're
Nope.
early 20s.
Yep.
Okay. So what's next? That's a groove that you can get stuck in for a long time. What happens when you're in that groove?
JoLynn.
JoLynn
That's when she
Seagriff.
comes into it all.
The lovely JoLynn.
Yes. So she wasn't walking with the Lord at the time, and I was,
And neither were you?
Oh, definitely not.
So 2 peas in a pod?
Yes. So
Did you meet her at karaoke?
No. That would have been classy. No, there was a dive bar in town that I frequent, and that's where I met her at down there.
Back when you were both.
Yeah, and she happened to be going to the community college at the same time as I was. But like you don't notice anyone until that first time you notice them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the next we started seeing each other all over the place. She had a roommate. I traded a sweater for the inside information on her. Can't go into too much detail on everything, but this is when I met her, and
you wooed her.
I wooed her. I fooled her into it. Like she'll tell you, she'll tell you like, you used to make me laugh. Like, that's kind of it. But we started living together. Of course, not married, no Christ in our lives yet. She had 3 children already. Cody, Colin, and Dylan. You guys at home will have to start taking notes at this point because it can get confusing.
Cody, Colin, and Dylan.
Right. So Cody would have been about 5, Colin would have been about 4, and Dylan just had turned 2. Like I remember, like the weekend I met her was his second birthday.
She had to be losing her mind. 5, 4, and 2.
Yeah.
With no man around.
Right. Yeah. I won't go to too much detail.
And you met her at the bar.
Right. Which is a thing that didn't change quickly when we got together. We still drank, partied all the time. I did it better,
Of course.
And we got to a point, again, just to keep everyone, she stopped drinking. She realized, like, some crazy stuff happened because of boozing. And she stopped.
It tends to get you in trouble.
Yeah. She stopped, and I didn't, because she was the one who had a problem, not me. And again, I still wouldn't call it alcoholic. I like the word binge alcoholic, because I was the guy that would get there and then never leave. And I would do that if I was drinking ice water, throwing darts at the bar. I would still stay and close the place. Like, that was just my nature. You know, like how I am now. Like, once I'm with the guys, I don't want to leave. I'm the last one to walk out the door. So, like, my personality, that part hasn't changed.
It meshes well with the old TV show Cheers atmosphere. Yeah. Like, even alcohol helps lubricate a bit. Even if alcohol didn't exist, like... Yeah. Escapism, I guess.
Yeah, you still found a group of people that were going to be there till 2:30 in the morning to hang out with.
And the rest of the world can just wait.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I was doing everything right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, and you should quit drinking. Now, you're the one with the problem.
Right. She made the mistake.
I'm handling this.
I didn't, right. And I was even told by wiser people that maybe I should stop drinking then, you know, or at least slow down. But, you know, it took a bit.
So that's a new rut. So you're still working HVAC, but now you got a partner to party with.
Yep.
And so now you moved out of Mom and Dad's house?
Yeah.
And you and JoLynn got a place together?
Yep. I moved into her apartment, and we...
So
at this point, we've
kids
bounced to a couple different places, right? So we had the three. Then we decided to have another. Like, it was a conscious decision, unmarried, to have a child. That was Dalton. So he's the youngest of the four boys. We had him, and then after that, it was like, maybe we should get married, you know? So he was about 1 when we got married.
How long had you guys been together before you had the thought, let's get married?
Thought to get married? We were only together like a
year?
A year, like when we decided that we would get married, but then we didn't because of some of that other chaos. And then it was like, let's have a kid. Like,
cuts.
Yeah. Because that makes everything
our
all
life's
right.
really a tornado right now.
Yeah.
We should have a kid. It'll settle it down.
Nothing straightened out whatsoever. So, yeah, the best thing to do is they had another child of the chaos.
Well, when you're a non-Christian, do you remember, how did you view marriage? What did getting married mean to you? Just something you were supposed to do?
Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of
90s?
just the action. It was like a candlelight dinner, you know, like, and the wife's going to hear this and be pretty disappointed, but it was just like what you're supposed to do.
Well, it's all different now, JoLynn. It's the love of Christ for his church. He sees it clearly, and you're his bride, but maybe not in 1996.
No.
It was like,
it was definitely, it was the
step.
next step. Right. Yeah, it was just that next step. We should get married. Yeah. So.
And then after that, it's like, what's the next level of romance? We could get new carpet in that room.
Yeah, we couldn't afford it. I was drinking way too much to get new anything. Yeah, my paychecks got burnt, which remind me about my tithing story if we have time later, but won't jump to that.
So you get married.
We get married.
Just seemed like the right thing to do.
Yeah. But just to put a nuance onto that is we found out the Friday before, JoLynn had found a mass on her breast, and they did the biopsy the Friday before our wedding, and we found out she had breast cancer.
In her 20s. 30.
She's a little bit older than me, just a little bit. But yes, very young.
But Dylan's 1.
Dalton's 1.
Yeah.
See, that's why you need a notepad.
Dylan, Colin, and Cody are all
elementary school
little kids.
Yep.
Yeah, that's devastating.
Yeah. So,
scary.
She even looked at me. She says, "Hey, here's your chance to get out." But luckily I was a manly man. Like, no, I can handle this. Yeah, botched a lot of that.
Grit down too. And just bear it.
Yeah. So we went. We got married. She, had to start doing chemotherapy. She had to get some drastic surgeries done. Me being the guy, I went to work. Like she was at home with tubes draining her incisions and such, with children. Her friend had to come from out of town to stay with her because I just went to work. That was what I needed to do, was pay the bills, So, like, I had blinders on to what a man's supposed to do for his wife.
Talk about that. I mean, it's tough. Aren't you supposed to pay the bills?
Yes, I am supposed to take care of them. But
what are you going to do, not go to work?
There's more to it than just paying the bills, though.
Preach, brother.
Like being there for your wife, supporting her. Now God's had me covered for a long time, so I can tell all kind of stories about being broke and still everything getting covered. But, like then I thought I went to work. But even like I went to work, I still, Friday after work, I was still getting drunk. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be one thing if I just hurried up and made money and got back home. But my lifestyle didn't change at all. I just went through those motions, come back like, but, hindsight, I should have been there for. I should have, even though I have to go to work, I should have been home right after work. I should have been, what do you need, honey? What can I do? I should have been reaching out to people to be there to help her. You know what I mean? Like all kind of hindsight things, Yeah. Or I'm 25 or 26, 27, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like I was still an idiot. You know what I mean? So just for those younger couples out there, sunshine, like there will be stupid that happens before you get to the end of things.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I can see it's painful. Our past lives are all painful. Glory be to God. So what's your encouragement to young men out there? Your job as husband?
Well, I would go before they become a husband.
Okay.
All right. Like, you need to get trained up in the Lord. Any guys that are out there like thinking like, oh, I can't wait to get married. Make sure you're marriage material before you think that you're going to go get married. One of those things after coming to Christ, like we'll get to that later, but like I read everything and anything I could get my hands on. And that was some of the stuff I read, like Being the Right Man. I wish I could remember the title of the book. It wasn't like some big popular book by some, great pastor or anything. But basically it was like, if you want to go get married, what you should be doing as a young man is starting to, prepare yourself. Get solid with God first, because you can't serve your wife if you're not serving God properly. So that would be my advice for any of you young men out there looking to get married. And then afterwards, remember that your wife does come first. You serve your Lord, and then you serve your wife. And you guys have to figure those things out because, like you're saying, like somebody has to pay the bills, right? And it could be the woman or whatever, like we won't get into that whole thing. But the fact is the bills need paid. So together you guys have to figure out how the bills are going to get paid. Vacations, things like that. Like the little things, if you're not prepared to work with your wife with those and you think you're just going to be the man of the house and take care of these business and everything's going to be fine, and you're sadly mistaken, guys. So always make sure that you're serving the church, serving the Lord, serving God, the church, the Big C church.
Which includes your wife and kids.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And one of our issues, that we had in our marriage too was that like I adopted the kids after we got married, the older three.
How soon?
Like that, a couple months later. Yeah.
So you got married, you had Dalton, and adopted the other three.
Yeah. Yep. So again, because I knew everything, I thought everything was good. But something for mixed couples out there, if you're getting married to someone who has children already, you got to go get counseled before that, because there's going to be all kind of issues that come up. The first time the non-biological parent starts to discipline the kid, there's going to be some kind of an issue. You know what I mean? When the biological parent decides to let a kid do something that the other parent doesn't agree with, that's going to cause issues. So I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying that go out and get yourself counseled up on those things.
So was that a huge point of conflict in your early marriage? Was like,
yes,
3 young boys, everybody, a lot of people listening will have had experience with 3 young boys, all under the age of 8 or whatever, and they need masculine discipline. Sometimes mom doesn't like how that looks.
Yeah.
Do you guys fight about that a lot?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was one of our major contentions through marriage, was the children, like things that wrap around the children. Like we drowned them. Like we'd be in agreement on grounding them, and then I'd come home from work and they'd be out of the house, It's like, well, why'd we go through all that? So then me being, again, this stubborn guy, I thought pushing harder and yelling about it would fix situations.
Get more angry.
Yes, exactly.
Clearly, I was not angry enough.
Exactly. So instead of going the opposite,
I'm going to ground Mom.
Right.
And you.
Right. Everyone's going to be miserable because what I said didn't go. So instead of reaching out to any kind of counseling whatsoever about it, we just we got more miserable.
So I see a very familiar marital death spiral happening. So your wife has cancer, is getting treatment, which, holy cow, how emotionally and physically and spiritually difficult is that? While having 4 children under the age of 7.
Yeah, about it.
And
I remember Caroline pops in the picture.
I know. So soon you're going to have 5, and you're fighting over how to discipline the kids. What happens in your marriage? Where does Christ come into this story? Do you reach a breaking point with JoLynn? So Caroline comes
Caroline
right after.
came in before the surgeries and such.
Okay.
Because after the surgeries, JoLynn wasn't able to have any more children. So what had happened is we had a miscarriage. Like, we weren't planning on having another kid, but then, there's ways that happens that you guys don't search it on the internet. Ask your parents about it.
Adults will know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just accidentally get pregnant.
Right. So we had a miscarriage, and from that, both of us realized that loss. That we wanted. So we decided we were going to have another kid. So we, at least we were married this time, but we decided we were going to have another, and that's when Caroline came along. So when Caroline come into the mix, before the surgeries and everything.
So she already knew she had cancer?
Yes.
But
she'd already gone through the chemotherapies and things like that. So there was that law between,
chemo and surgery.
Curing the cancer, if you can use that term, but curing the cancer and then the surgeries that she was going to have. So we, in fact, they had told JoLynn before that she wouldn't be able to have any babies. So, again, when you look back at what God has done in your life, even when you were still, his enemy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
He demonstrates his love for us while we were yet sinners. He died for us.
But yeah, it's kind of not go too far down this path, but, when you lose a child, that opens up the eyes, like when we lost one that we didn't even meet yet. That left that hole, you know what I mean? So it was like we need to, we're going to have another child. And we had Caroline, and she was a nice, quiet baby. Like when she'd wake up in the middle of the night to feed, she'd just kind of, make little squeak sounds and stuff,
Yeah.
Then she turned 5 and hasn't shut up since, But and she knows it.
We love you, Gracie.
We do.
All right. So that seems like that loss and then new life can bring you closer together. It can patch over some things. There's still a lot of holes in this ship.
Yeah. So eventually what happens to any ship, it's sunk. JoLynn says, you got to get out. So.
I know she's not here.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's downstairs right now. Do you know what her breaking point was? What's one day where all of a sudden you just say, hey, you have to leave?
I wouldn't say it wasn't a day. It was constant arguing, constantly being on each other, constantly just mad about everything. And she was like, I've had enough, So we were living only the same street, a block and a half down from my parents. I moved back into their basement. So started, still was working. Can't remember exactly which company I was with at the time. But, so, we're separated. Then she, says, hey, we need to talk. So we get together on the front stoop and we're talking, and she says, I'd like you to move back in again. She goes, I'd like to start taking the kids to church. And I'm like, okay, we can do that. because, I'm still an intelligent man, right? I know the church teaches good morality for kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You don't need much past that yet at this point, But, there was good reason. And here at the time, they had gone to VBS. And this is one of those things, and I've said this to some VBS, you don't know how many people's lives VBS touches. If you have an opportunity, I will put in for Mon, get involved with VBS, get involved with kids ministry. So the kids had gone to VBS. They were treated very well. The kids loved it. They loved the people that they were at up there, and it was up at Faith Community Church, FCC.
In Freeport.
In Freeport, yep. So I said, well, let's take them up there. Pastor Chuck Edwards, he was also the police chief in Freeport at the time.
Chief of police.
Yes, did I say police chief?
It's okay.
Yeah,
he policed the chiefs,
yes,
and was also the chief of police.
Yes. But my father was on president of council, so I knew who Chuck was. Plus, I ran into Chuck in some of my earlier life experiences.
Chuck knew who you were, too.
Yes, he did. Chuck is a great guy. We can get into that a little bit. But so I was like, let's go up there. I know who Chuck is. They treated the kids well.
Do you have any idea why JoLynn wanted to start taking the kids to church?
Just probably God working on her in some manner or another.
Grasping for some sort of stability or...
Perhaps. That would be a good question for her.
Yeah.
But, at the time, like I said, she was a believer that wasn't walking with the Lord. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. So I don't... You know what I mean? Like...
So she got saved somewhere in there?
Yes. Yeah. She could,
or was she
prior to meeting me on the bar stool.
Really?
Yes. So it'd be more of a prodigal story.
She's a prodigal story.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she's in rebellion.
Yes.
Okay. So something was just you leaving the house. Who knows? She's got more time to think, dwell. There's less anger and chaos in the house. She's like, I need to go back to church.
Yes.
Cool.
So, yeah, I was agreeable to it. You know what I mean? I wanted our marriage to work, So
I'm surprised by that. Do you know where that impulse comes from? Is that just cultural momentum?
That I wanted my marriage to work? I was one of those misfits.
Was it the kids?
No, I was a misfit, right? Like, I had both of my parents. Like when I looked around at my friend group, like maybe 50% of us had both parents still living under the same roof together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like our family, uncles, aunts, cousins, everybody, family was a huge thing in my entire life. You know what I mean? So it was important to me to keep my family together. Like you just didn't give up on that. No matter how dumb I was being, that was one of the things I would not have given up on.
I just see that as, I guess what we'd refer to as a common grace from God.
Yeah.
Of just like cultural momentum left from, because, Clarion University, Jim, who's really pissed at the guy reading his Bible just because he's reading his Bible. Why not? If marriage gets so hard and is annoying, then just... Like, what's the impulse to try to make it work? That's a lot of work.
You got to remember, it was just for the kids. It wasn't for me. Yeah. In fact, I went up there. I had a tablet in hand, right? Like Chuck's preaching up there. I'm taking notes. I'm trying to catch them. You know what I mean? Trying to check
not
catch
taking
the
notes
hypocrisy.
to learn, like taking notes that you can.
No, it was like I'm going to find the
later.
holes in here. But at the same time, when I first got up there and talked to Chuck, like walking in and out of the place, I was like, hey, we got to get together sometime. Like Chuck was one of them guys when somebody new showed up, like he wanted to touch base with his people. And being that he knew me, knew my dad, he was like, hey, we got to get together.
Not arrested you a few times.
Correct. And he hadn't. Because that was kind of how things were back then.
Because it was the 90s.
So
wait till I tell your dad.
Right. So I'm coaching youth football at the time. And, if anyone involved in youth sports knows, like, football is every day for 3 or 4 months. So once football is winding down in October, I finally get a chance to go meet with Chuck. Well, I wanted to sit with him because I'm going to tell Chuck that I'm an atheist, that I'm only here because I'm bringing the kids. Like, that was in my head why I was going to meet with Chuck.
I'm setting the fence.
Yes.
Stay out of my yard, Chuck.
Yep. And that was going to be because I like the guy. You know what I mean? To show him that respect, By the time I sat down with him, October 18th, right? I was saved. Like, I don't know at what moment happened in between all that, but I had my notebook with all my notes in it, and I'm sitting down there with Chuck, and I'm asking him questions now.
Where are you at? Like a Denny's or something?
Yeah, King's. Oh, I'm sorry. Pastor Chuck's office was the King's in Sarver. That was anywhere. Yeah, if Chuck was meeting somebody, it was going to be meeting at Sarver, up at the King's up there.
October 18th of what year?
Of 2020. No, 2014. Man, this is what happens when you get older and you've drank too much.
When you said 2020,
that was not that long ago. 2014. Oh wow! If you wouldn't have asked, I'd have known.
So,
but sitting in King's,
I don't want to draw on this thread too much because I see the pain in it. I'm just like acknowledging for the audience. When did you marry JoLynn?
Couple years before that.
If you get it wrong, we can adjust it.
Yeah, someone can dub it in.
It was more than a couple years before that, right?
Yeah, because he would have been, Dalton would have been 2. He probably would have been about 7 at this point. So yeah, like 5 years, 6 years.
2006.
That sounds good. I ask her whenever I'm filling the forms out.
See, I have mine on my wedding ring. That helps.
Oh, that's good
right.
Thinking.
Mine's right in here.
Thanks, buddy.
6/1, 2018. 6/2.
There you go. You
better beat that.
You better get that bigger size.
Thank goodness my wife never listens to this. 6/2, 2018. I lost my train of thought. There's a lot of years of pain in there that we probably just skipped over the wave tops of, right?
But it was the same thing. It was more the same. Like, I just boozed. I did what was right for me. I told everybody else what they had to do.
You guys fought a bunch.
We fought about it. Yeah, we had issues, like, again, with the kids. Our kids, as they got into their teen years, like at this point, like Colin and Cody are probably 14, 15, at that troublesome age already that they already don't want to listen to parents, and then they had 2 that fought and disagreed all the time. So
I only bring that up to acknowledge the passage of time between then and October 18th, 2014, because somebody at community group last night, I think it was Mandy, I think it was Mike's daughter, was saying like the Lord will restore the years that the locusts have eaten. I forget the verse. Like when I meet you guys, or when you meet other people in the church, when you guys out there meet random people in the church, like as I come to experience Jim and JoLynn Seagriff, I experience you as like bastions of mature Christianity.
Careful.
Well, you know what I mean? Like I like hearing these normal Christian stories because it reminds us that the Lord is faithful and can redeem a lot, right? I mean, we skipped over, a lot of years of difficulty that if people were to meet you nowadays, it's not like you guys are perfect or your marriage is perfect, but are certainly long in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. It's just, marriage is really hard. Sunshine, marriage is really hard. But I think that's why you're pointed to Christ and the church. Because it's not a thing that Christ is just going to give up on.
Right.
And he's not going to give up on your marriage
Christ
either.
Christ doesn't turn his back on us.
Yeah, he's not going to give up on the church, and he's not going to give up on your individual marriage. Right. Like, you got to have faith. If your marriage is not doing well right now, if it is not joyous to be in, does not feel like a gift, does not, like, why are we still doing this? We both hate this and each other. Well, 1, you need to go talk to somebody. Yeah. And 2, I know a bunch of people that are in your age group or older that I've only ever experienced with gray hair.
Easy.
And then, hey, I have gray hair now. I'm allowed to say it. I got grays everywhere. That I've only known with gray hair, and then you come to find out that at one point 30 years ago, they can't believe they didn't get divorced. They almost signed the papers.
Oh, yeah.
And then now...
They were fouled.
Well, and I'm thinking of a different couple than you. But now they would say, our marriage is so good and so joyful to be in that me at age 37 when we were filing paperwork couldn't have imagined that where we're at today was a possibility because of the goodness of God. So it's just a good encouragement to people.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's where it starts with, is that we have to realize in Christ that our marriage is supposed to work out. You know, the hardest part of it is that it's two people. You know,
and you're both sinners.
Yeah, two broken people. You know, in some cases very broken, and that's what makes it difficult. Like after I'd come to Christ, you know, I read the Bible. Like I grabbed, I couldn't put it down. I would read the Bible. After I got even while I was reading the Bible, I was reading Mere Christianity, you know, anything I could get my hands on.
That's a C.S. Lewis book,
yes.
For those of you who haven't read it.
You know, like I was trying to suck in everything and anything I could, you know.
So what did Chuck say to you on this infamous day? I interrupted your whole getting saved speech, but you're at King's in the booth, and you're getting ready to tell Chuck, listen, buddy, I got my notebook here. I've been listening to your crap. I just want to tell you, stay out of my philosophical yard.
That was my intention when I started attending FCC. By the time I was sitting there, I was asking clarification questions. It was like, so homosexuality, it's wrong, right? He says, yeah, it's wrong. You know, like, because these were the things that I wanted to catch. Those wishy-washy things that you see, like the woke churches and the progressive churches now that are faltering on. Those were the things I asked him, and I wasn't trying to call him out. These were things I heard in his message that I was just getting a clear answer to where he stood and why he thought those things. You know, he was handing me Apologetics. I don't know if you've ever heard of the band Apologetics. They're like a Christian Weird Al Yankovic, right? They take spoof songs, make them Christian songs. He was telling me about Tim
Keller?
Tim Allen. No. He was telling me about comedian Tim something. Lip sync it in there later for me. But like these, what he was explaining to me is that we have what the secular world has. Like, I think he realized, like, part of my thing was getting away from the life I was tied into, you know? Or at least that's what God put on his heart. You'd have to ask Chuck these questions, right? But he was showing me how Christians have their life also. They have music. They have entertainment. They have this and that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they have ways of communicating to people also. But really, it wasn't like an aha moment. It was like over those listening to the word, you know, as Chuck preached it, is what converted me. It wasn't a conversation that me and Chuck had.
So you don't really have a moment where you said, Christ died for sinners and I'm a sinner?
Well, it's what I prayed that night, but I already knew it. Like, I already knew that I was broken.
And prayed the prayer, though?
I prayed the prayer with Chuck in the parking lot. Yeah. At King's. Because that's where guys get saved at.
That's awesome.
King's parking lot. But yeah, and then like I said, I was on fire after that. You know, I was there at Bible study. I was there reading the Bible, doing everything. Now, again, I wasn't perfect. I was on fire, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like I had issues. I'll go
time.
to exactly. We can get into my legalism later. But what had happened, like I was still drinking, right? Because good Christians still drank. At least all the Christians I knew still drank, right?
Yeah. Momentum.
Yeah. So we went out one night. I'm like having this debate about tithing, whether I'm going to tithe or not, right? That was back in the day that you actually got a paycheck and had to cash it, and then you had that green stuff and coins that went with it. Mm-hmm. They called it money back then. So we go out boozing, right? We go to a club, watch a comedy act, you know, the wife and I go to another bar. I remember putting down 3 or 4 pitchers of beer that night and everything. And then Sunday morning, like any good drinker, you reach in your pocket to see how much money you have left. And I counted out. I blew 10% of my paycheck over that weekend drinking. And I did not go out drinking for years again. Like, I had like a couple beers in the next couple of, yeah.
Like the realization to you was palpable.
Yeah.
If I had just not drank Friday night, Saturday night, I just drank away the Lord's portion.
Right. That's what it was. Like, that was like him opening my eyes to, like, you have this extra money. Even though you think you're broke all the time, like, you have money. So that was when the party stopped, you know, was when that happened. Now, I'm not saying, you know, that Christians can't have a beer and whatnot. You know what I mean?
I've witnessed Jim have a beer before.
Yeah. And then I got holy water and they showered me with it, and then now I'm okay.
Yeah, he had to take, you know, the cat of nine tails a few times afterwards,
but I'm okay now. But no, like, in all seriousness, and I tell these guys that I became legalistic because I'm a rules guy.
Yeah,
like, I like to know what I can and can't do. You know,
draw me clear, bright lines.
Yes,
I want to stay in between them.
Yeah, so like, I wouldn't drink. I started taking classes with the ECA, Evangelic Christian Alliance. You know, they'd send you books. You'd do the test and stuff in front of a pastor and mail them in. One of their rules was not to drink or use tobacco. So one of those things to honor that, you know, I didn't drink. But it also was built on, you know, I was a strong believer that you don't want a brother to trip, you know, by seeing you do wrong, you know, which this has been discussed on the show before, and we've had many conversations about this when we get together. But I took it to the extreme, though, you know, like, it was everything and anything. Like, you shouldn't be here. Like, there was a time, like, how we'd get together and go to get wings in a bar. Like, I was opposed, like, why are you even stepping into a bar as a Christian? You know what I mean? Like, that's where I was at that point. So it was like that pendulum, right? Like,
yes.
Like, here I was, and then now I'm over here. Like, everything's bad now. Everything's a sin, and if I'm still right about everything. That's the one thing that hasn't changed. You know what I mean? Like, I am still right.
Hey, man, I've never been wrong my whole life.
So it took a bit for that to come back down.
Sunshine just audibly laughed when I said that.
She doesn't know. She doesn't know. I hope Doughboy is never wrong, too. Don't ever tell him he is, if he is, though.
Okay, so you have this radical swing.
Mm-hmm.
The radical change, at least in what you see as good and bad. Obviously, there's still a lot of softening that needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
What do we say? The corner still needed sanded off?
It needed chiseled, not just sanded.
So what happens in your marriage?
Oh, everything was perfect after that.
End of story.
That's it.
Cut the podcast.
No, things were still not good. Because I still didn't change my heart towards my wife yet. Because I was still right, like I was saying, right?
Well, so what do you mean? Okay, you keep saying you were still right about everything. I'm reading a marriage book. I wish I could remember the exact quote. I'm going to paraphrase it. You can be right. What did he say? You can be right at the top of your lungs and be wrong. Like, he had something like yelling.
I'm sure it was much more poetic when you read it.
Yeah, it's like you can be right, but not right in your delivery.
Yeah.
Like, you can right, but still you can be right, but be wrong in how you're being right.
And that's where I was at. So now my legalism, right? My wife had to do this and had to act a certain way and shouldn't be around these certain people. The kids had to start doing this type of stuff. So I was
running around with a real big heavy Bible and hitting everybody on the head with it.
Yeah. So, and we still had the conflict. We had the older boys who were already, you know, spiraling, you know, cops showing up at the door because, you know, they saw them running down the street with beer in their hand or whatnot, you know.
I want to get into some of that later, but okay, so there's still stress.
Yes.
Let's say that.
Yes.
Household's still full of stress.
Yeah. And there was several, like, there was a point, like, after this that the wife and I actually had spent more time under separate roofs than together. And this was after coming to Christ. So it doesn't just happen in an instant.
So you ended up moving back out again.
Yeah. A couple of times. couple of times. Mostly I was prompted to move out. The last time was my choice. I just couldn't handle it anymore. The fighting and the arguing. Again, when you got two broken people, it's it isn't as easy as
it's
snapping the fingers.
I don't know when this is going to air, but relative to the most recent sermon, us sitting here, time stamping us, was Mike's last Mission 1-8 sermon, which was, do you want to know how you can find out that you don't have the power to be good? And he says, go get a roommate.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that was his whole sermon. Go get a roommate, and you're going to find out.
Yeah.
They're rotten, awful people. This
Yes.
person was my best friend. And then we started rooming together in college, and 3 months later, who knew she was a total jerkhead? And then he made jokes about getting married, and difficult with two broken people.
Yeah, and the fact is that there was a lot of resentment built up on my wife, if I'm saying that correctly, because of how I treated her and how I acted, even pre-Christ. Like she lost trust in me.
Yeah, you
would be
built
the
up
best way
scar
to say
tissue.
it. Yes.
There's consequences to our sin. I was just talking about this with Mike. There's consequences to our sin that often carry on, have a momentum far into our repentance.
Yeah.
That you just no boo-hoon about. You just, the sins of the past sometimes have a lot of cleanup work to do, even once you've changed your mind.
Yes.
Been washed clean of the guilt of them.
Right.
And so you're saying your wife had scar tissue from...
Yes. Yeah. And, it's understandable. She lost that trust, in me as her husband. Everything I did was just an angle for myself, things like that. She would get mad. You know how you said earlier, like, Jim now, right? Yeah. And Jim's a great guy, and no, he wouldn't have done that sort of stuff, right?
You are a great guy.
Yeah.
In my view.
But my wife knew me. So when she was around fellow Christians who were admiring me for the change that's gone on in my life, she got madder. Yeah. She's like, you don't know who Jim is.
Yeah. Because
she was holding on to who I was.
Yeah, he's a total a-hole.
And again, with good reason. Like, it wasn't that I was doing these things still. I still wasn't doing things great, wasn't doing things right, but they saw the guy that was learning the Bible, was starting to teach and stuff, leading Bible study, being in Bible study. Like, that's the guy they knew. They didn't know the big jerk. And, like, now I'm more open to say this is who I was. You know what I mean? Like, back then, I didn't make sure that everybody knew what a dirtbag I really was.
Yeah, because who wants to walk around saying that?
Right.
I mean, I think I say it a lot, but
yeah. Well, I try to now because people need to know that dirtbags get saved.
Yes. Again,
it's not funny.
No, I just the line like I'm like dirtbags get saved too.
Okay, so. I don't want to screw up the chronology here because I'm sure as I'm drawing your winding family story arc, I know that there's tragedy. Yeah. And as much as you're willing to go into it, because my assumption is that the tragedy probably has a big impact on your marriage. Like, how can we talk about the health of your marriage without addressing probably some really big things that happen in there?
Yeah. So interesting enough is that God put us in the place for the tragedy, if that makes any sense.
So I'm going to break the ice for everybody. Your grandson,
yes,
we'll not say his name on here, who's currently young. Is he 7?
8.
8. You guys are the full-time caretakers of him. Because both of his dad and his mom are deceased.
Yes.
And his dad would be one of your boys.
Yes. So that was Colin. He was the second oldest. He was living in Florida at the time. It was one of those, he was into a lot of the things that he shouldn't have been. We knew drugs and stuff were part of his life. JoLynn will tell you she was always expecting that phone call, you know. Luckily,
does this happen around the same time that we're talking about, that you're getting saved? And
no, this was much after. I've been saved for several years now, longer.
But you and JoLynn are still having ups and downs.
We're not. No, that's what I was just going to say, is that God put us in a place for it. Things were starting to be much better with us. Again, not perfect, but
you done living apart.
We're not living apart anymore. We're living together. We're making the future plans now. You know, not just like how are we going to get through next week? What are we going to do next summer? Hey, how about a trip? You know, like things that a married couple should be doing. Our kids are older now. Caroline's like 16 or whatever. Yeah, she's probably 14 at the time. But, you know, so like we're starting to plan our lives together, the rest of our lives together, right? Is when people start seeing their rest of their life after children. So we're at home.
Is it good?
It is good. It is good. There's still holes. There's still problems in our lives, right? But yes, it was where we were together. We were on the same page. We were working towards the same goal at this point, you know.
Not fighting all the time.
Not fighting all the time.
Feeling like an actual...
Yeah. And that took a lot of Christ and a lot of talking to the right people and counseling. And
so, okay, I want to touch on a few things then before we get to Colin.
Yeah.
So, one, you said a phrase that I didn't write down but tickled my ear. You said your heart hadn't turned towards your wife yet, or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Flesh that out for us.
So again, like after coming to Christ, he changed my perspective of how I should act, you know, superficially, you know, like this is what I should do. Again, like that legalism. Here's the rules. Here's what you need to do, right? So then I think that I'm treating my wife right now because I'm going to church now. I become a Christian. This is the right thing to have done, right?
And now you can tell her all the ways she's not doing.
Right, exactly. And that's what I did. You know, like I was like, you can't hang out with these people. Why is a married woman? She liked to sing. A wonderful singer, by the way. I love her voice. She doesn't sing as much
Pastor
as she
Matt,
used to.
get her.
I
get her.
Talking to her. She's
just holding out on the Lord with these gifts.
She's saving them for herself.
Okay, so she's going out.
She
singing.
would go out singing karaoke. You know, coming home at 2:00 in the morning. You know, like no Christian woman should be doing this. You know. But at the same time, I'm still a jerk. I still haven't mended any of those wounds from before that, you know.
So would you say the thing you were missing is the 1 Corinthians 4:13?
Yes.
The love.
Yeah, the action of love, not just because I loved my wife, but I didn't treat her with respect. I didn't treat her with patience, with kindness. You know, I wasn't gentle with her, you know, like all those things.
As if she's the weaker vessel.
Yeah. And it was even worse than that. I was still.
When you're saying you ought not go to karaoke till 2 a.m, it wasn't because it was for her. Like, oh, it's because I love you and your life will be so much better. Like
No, it made me look bad.
I'm looking out for future JoLynn and I just want to. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not, your motivation wasn't actually for JoLynn.
No, wasn't for her sanctification.
I had a nice handle grip on something that made me right and righteous.
Yep. And now I got buddies seeing you out at the bar in the middle of the night. You know what I mean? Like, that was, again, it was still about me.
Yeah.
Everything was still about me at that point.
So how did that change?
Yeah. Just God slowly molding me, letting me see my mistakes. Again, we were still on that roller coaster, but the main thing was that I had to die to myself completely, you know, like I did it partially, but I didn't do it completely. You know, I still held on to certain things that I wanted to control. I wanted to control my wife. I wanted to control my kids still, you know, not lead them, not love them, not to guide them. I wanted to control them.
Okay, I say this very tentatively, and I only say this because it's me and you know, in my head, I'm applying this to myself.
And the 6 viewers.
And the 6 viewers. I'm hearing Pharisee.
Yeah.
Right? I've died to my sin in that, ooh, I now feel comfy in these rules.
Yeah.
And I can hit other people with the rules. But what I'm missing, what you see Jesus yell at the Pharisees about all the time, is no love or concern for the actual people around them that they're hitting with the rules. Right? It's like...
and I would have
not to just call you a Pharisee in front
yes,
of everybody.
I've done it. I tell people. I do tell people. I've probably said it to you or around you. I would have made a great Pharisee. I would have been one of those guys Jesus was yelling at. When I first came to Christ, I would have been one of those guys.
And it's such a tricky, it's a very effective spot for the devil to attack us in. Because in your mind, you feel like you make the turn.
Mm-hmm.
You done got saved.
Yep.
The halfway there is almost worse than the none of the way there.
Yeah.
Like at least the drunk happy guy at the bar is like, yeah, man, you do you.
Right.
Right. It's the I think I've figured it out, doing nothing in love to anyone else. It's why Jesus is the hardest on that group of people.
Right.
Yet goes and hangs out with the sinners, right? It's like that is the...
Yeah.
Well, you said another thing that triggered my mind. You guys sought counseling. How'd you seek counseling? Did somebody tell you? Chuck tell you this is what
well,
you
I'm
should
sure,
do?
yeah, because we talk with Chuck and we talk with Kathy up there, and then we found Christian counseling outside of the church. Be careful with that. Not all Christian counselors are truly Christian counselors. We did go to one that was basically, you two shouldn't be married anymore. If that happens in your first couple sessions at Christian counseling, you're not at Christian counseling.
If somebody says that to you, then you probably need to go see somebody else. But
let someone else cash your check. So,
but was that instrumental in your turnaround?
It was all bits and pieces of it, because no matter who we spoke with, and I'm kind of speaking for the wife, and if she's mad about it, she can put a comment on later, but neither of us, we still both looked at each other as in, like, you need to fix this, and that doesn't work when it comes to working on your marriage. You need to see what you need to fix for yourself, not what your spouse needs to be working on and fixing. So even though we went to counseling, we often walked out with, did you hear what she said about this? And pointing a finger towards each other. So the ideas and concepts helped, but it took a long time, and it took more living together. And then, what we're going to be getting at, I think some of the tragedy that we've had kind of, we had to be there for each other all of a sudden. Like there was no not being there for her when she needed me at that point, So I think, again, just how God works, I think that might be Sunshine's favorite verse, right? That God works all things out for good. That's... I believe in my heart that's what God had got us to a point that we were going to need each other, and made sure I knew at that point that she was going to need me, if you know what I mean. When she had cancer, I didn't know that she needed me, you know. When we had roller coasters with the kids, I was just, I'll go fix it, ground them, do this. There wasn't me partnering with my wife through any of that. But I really think that what helped us, even though things were going better, we still weren't there yet, and we're still not there. So, I won't ever try to.
But the tragedy, put you in the curing furnace. Yeah. These mugs, right? They get formed, and then they have to go into an oven to cure.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
You want to go there?
Yeah. So
Colin's living in Florida.
He's living in Florida with his girlfriend. They've got a lot of things going on. We know that they're into the drugs and the scene and everything. Heroin, not just smoking weed now and again. Thanksgiving Eve, the night before Thanksgiving, the phone rings. It's like one of those that you hit a certain age, and when the phone rings at 10 o'clock, you just know something's wrong. It's not your buddies calling anymore. JoLynn answered the phone. I couldn't tell you exactly what I was overhearing, but you could tell that it was a stranger and it was something serious. I heard her respond to two things, and then I heard her knees hitting the floor, like the thud, because she'd walked out of the bedroom with her phone. I raced out and grabbed the phone from her, and it was the coroner's office down in Florida, letting us know that our son had overdosed. They had to do some things, some tests to be sure about stuff like that. But I had to finish the conversation for her. Needless to say, that was pretty tough Thanksgiving, and for my wife, she's had a lot of loss around Thanksgiving, and even more to come yet. So they made a tough time for Thanksgiving. So we have to get him. They have to fly him up and everything, and not to get into a lot of detail on that, but we have the funeral services for him and everything. And we made a mistake at the time. We were attending a church out in Saxonburg, and JoLynn wanted to have Colin shown at the church. And anyone who loses somebody, I don't know that that's your best choice, because she couldn't get back to that church without seeing our son, when we visit. So then that kind of put another issue with us, in our growth, because now I couldn't get her to go to church anymore, But tried staying by her. And again, we still had our rocky points through this time also. Shortly after that, we find out that his fiancée was pregnant when he died. He did not even know that his fiancée was pregnant yet. So then we start the issue is is it our grandchild or not? All those things start passing through your head and stuff. And then when she had the baby, JoLynn went down to see the baby, and she's like, "That's Colin's kid," and as he gets older, he is Colin's kid. Every time he's mad at me, I get that same scowl from him that Colin would give me, because me and Colin butted heads a lot.
Colin's the second oldest.
Yeah, he's the second oldest.
How do you... I don't even know what question to ask. In the midst of that, what do you reflect on as far as how you tangibly clung to Christ in your life? What did that time look like for you guys? Did you quit going to church? Did you go to church more? Did you...
JoLynn started going less because she couldn't go to that church. Because of the
couldn't
memory.
Get the funeral out of it.
Yeah. I won't say that either of us walked away from Christ. It wasn't like that. But it was kind of like putting them on pause as far as attending to that church. I continued to go for a while to get things caught up before I go too far into that. He was born in July. JoLynn had flown down to meet him.
Your grandson Braden.
Which we weren't going to mention his name.
Beep all those.
Do we beep those?
Yes. It's up to you.
It's all right with me. If anyone wants to come take him, feel free. Key will be under the mat.
Okay.
I love him. I love him dearly. Though he drives me nuts. So she went down to visit him, came back, says, "This is definitely Colin's kid." So we go down to visit. I was teaching HVAC at Pittsburgh Alderdice at the time. And so over Christmas break, we drove down there just to meet him. By the time it was all said and done, his mother said, "Why don't you take him home to meet the rest of the family up in PA?" Won't get too far down that because of her trouble issues. It's probably more of an angle to to hurt her mother than it was to, be kind to us. But that's not as relevant. So we bring him home. He stays with us for a few weeks, and then JoLynn flies him back down. She comes back, and couldn't have been a week later, Braden's mother calls us again, like, hey, I want you to come down and take him up there to live with you guys. So she flew down, picked him up, and he's been living with us ever since. That summer, his mother also died of a drug overdose. So he only got pictures now. So now he's ours. We go to the court, get custody. Haven't done like the whole adoption thing. But so now he's ours to take care of. He still has contact with his other grandparents down in Florida. But he's so funny. He would, excuse me. He would, like even when we first started coming up to harvest, which was probably another 5-6 years, after this. He probably 5 years. I'd introduce him, like this is our grandson. And then, you'd be like, he lives with us, just so that people understood the context. And he would be like, my mom and dad are dead, because he's a 5-year-old, and we never, we give him just enough information so he knows,
well, and he was a baby too, so
yeah,
it's not.
Yeah. So he doesn't know him, and he asks how come his mom and dad died. Well, they took medicine they weren't supposed to. Slowly teaching them things. But I didn't want to be one of those that, we're mom and dad. We're still Pappy and Grammy. No, we have to act like mom and dad. We don't get to just, throw a bunch of sugar at them and ship them out. I try to give them sugar and send them to somebody else's house, but
it doesn't work.
No. The plan has backfired on many occasions. But he's a trooper. I mean, he's a good kid. He's got some issues, ADHD and such, that may have been from drug use during pregnancy or not. We don't know. But it's been a struggle. But again, God used him in his troubles to help JoLynn and I work together. Like you can't raise a kid with needs like that and not be on the same page. Like we talked things out. We planned everything. We didn't want to throw him on medication right away because that's what everybody wants, right? He was still young, 3-4, when we're realizing there's problems. So we would, everything was like a time, which probably is backfiring now because he has to, everything's a clock. He's looking, what time is it? Because he knows he gets his tablet at this time, this at that time,
Very structured.
Yeah. But that was one of those ways we kept him calm. You know what I mean? Like, he knew how to read an analog clock before he could read a digital clock because he could see where the hand was, that it was now 4 o'clock. He could do this. It was 7 o'clock. He could get his tablet, So, but you don't do that alone. You don't do that when you're fighting with your partner.
There's enough stress. Like you guys were just God had you in a better place that now when he put the pressure on, he was turning you into a diamond rather than crushing you into dust.
Right.
Right. Like before you were in a bad place individually with respect to Christ, with respect to the Bible, the power of the Holy Spirit, like Mike was talking about in the most recent sermon. And so when your family was under a ton of pressure before, it made things worse.
Yeah.
And now it kind of solidified you and JoLynn as one.
Yeah. Yeah, we were able to, we worked on things, There was disagreements on how we should do some stuff, but we worked on it like you're supposed to.
And like you said, you saw you saw that it was undeniably clear that she needed you and you ought to be there.
Yes.
This time.
Yeah. Again, didn't do everything perfectly, but
do you feel the redemption of it now?
I don't know. I'll be completely honest. There's sometimes as I relive this that I feel the guilt all over again.
Because we're getting real heavy, but I can see, because I'm not in the hot seat, I feel it in my own story, but I saw the guilt behind your eyes telling the first half of this story. Yeah. I guess the question is, do you feel the redemption in the second half? I
do. I do most of the time. Just like you said, when it comes down to me retelling it, that guilt comes back, the hurt comes back, the things that I wish I could, take off of my wife, the pains and the hurts and stuff. I wish I could take the pain of what the grandson's going to be going throughout life. Mm-hmm. But that is on Christ now. You know what I mean? Like he's paid the price for my stupidity, for how I've treated everybody around me. And I do understand that, and I feel that burden lift. It's just that guilt does hit you once in a while. I'm sure that happens the most,
I'm thinking of so many things I want to say. We were talking last night in the community group I was at. There was a question in the map. It said, when do you feel most alone and inadequate as a Christian? And I answered in the group and said, when I'm in sin.
Yeah.
Frankly. So I used the example of like getting mad, losing my temper. And then this part B of the question was like, well, how does your perspective on being alone and inadequate change if you then realize that the Holy Spirit is with you all the time? And like, and I said, it makes me feel ashamed.
Yeah.
I think part B was supposed to say, doesn't it make you feel better to know that the Holy Spirit's with you? Yeah. No, if I say sin, it doesn't. But it's so hard to remember Romans 8:1, which is therefore there is now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. And you already brought up Romans 8:28, which is later in that. Which is, all things work for the good of those who are called according to his purpose. I missed a phrase in there.
That's all right.
And just clinging to both of those promises as much as you can. The phrase that I always try to tell people, because you almost have to do this all the time, particularly when you and I are both Pauls. You talked about Peters and Pauls. There's blessings that come with being a Paul, and there's hard things that come with being a Paul.
The pains of it, yeah.
And I tell people, it's like your past is like carrying around a backpack of rocks that Satan just wants you to keep carrying around. It's really hard. Like if you think about hiking or doing sports or anything, it's like really hard to move fast and be productive and everything when you're carrying a huge backpack full of rocks. Right. And you got to learn to set those, like every day, I always say, set the backpack of rocks down at the foot of the cross.
And then you got to make sure you don't pick it back up again, which is easy to do.
It's so hard to realize that, like, for I am not ashamed of the gospel. It's the power of God, it's the power of salvation to those who believe. The more rocks you have in that backpack to set down, the more glorious Christ's work on your behalf is. I was talking to someone about infidelity recently, reminding them about the gospel, and said, this is what the gospel's for. This is how awesome Jesus is. The gospel's not for when you stub your toe and cuss.
Right.
Oh, thank goodness for the gospel. Right. Like, the gospel's for Will Land in his 20s.
Right.
And Jim Seagriff in his 20s. And not loving JoLynn as he ought to have, or not loving my wife as I ought to have. So I don't know. I'm just preaching now, but
yeah, no, it's good stuff.
I felt like I want to take some weight off the moment too.
Yeah, thanks. But yeah, there's definitely
there's redemption, brother.
Yes, there is.
You're a good man now.
And that
By
burden
the power
is
of the
off.
Holy Spirit, only
Amen.
no credit to you whatsoever.
Right,
but
right. And that is lifted. That burden's not on me constantly. You know what I mean? Like the things I did in the past, I don't just sit there thinking about that all the time.
Yeah, you go
once
crazy.
in a while. Like again, you still pick up the bag of rocks once in a while.
Yeah, because you want to carry them around.
Yeah.
And feel bad about yourself. And
yeah.
And be unproductive for a little bit.
Yeah, and a lot of it comes down to that, the hurt. You know, it's not as much a woe is me, but man, look what I did. Like if I wouldn't have done this, if I could rewind time and be there for my wife when she had cancer, like I think how glorious life could be right now. You know what I mean? But then I also think that if we didn't go through that, who would I be now? You know, who would she be now? Like God had the plan, you know. I didn't screw up his plan, you know. He knows what was going to happen. He knew where I was going to be at. He knew what he had to do to teach me, you know.
So you just got to believe that's all going to work out for your good.
Yes. And then you have to act on the word, you know.
Kind of in a different direction. Hopefully you're willing to give your thoughts to this. How do you mentally process calling? How have you wrestled with over the years? I asked this because I was just having a conversation with two other women in the church. One, I think, having an incarcerated adult child for the same issue, and I think one having a deceased child. And just the bearing the burden of like how to wrestle with, I don't know. Do you feel responsible? They're their own person. Did you have shame about calling? Like how do you process that? How do you process that? I know it's a very common thing now. We are in the age of we are the opioid generation,
right?
Sunshine and I, and it's touched a lot of lives in this building. I know.
Yes,
there are a lot of people,
and that's the thing. Like with Colin, like he's seen other friends overdose. Some of them got brought back, you know. Some of them didn't. And then when he died, and then there was still other friends because my sons were all kind of in that same group. You know what I mean? And you know, then you'd hear about this kid dying and that kid dying. I don't carry the burden of his death, to be honest. Now, you know, JoLynn might just say it's because I'm heartless, you know.
Well, JoLynn's not here.
Yeah, but I know that she does. Like she, you know, still carries that sometimes. But I don't. I believe that we did the best that we could because I had 5 children, right? We actually had to throw Colin out of the house because we were finding Oxycontin on the floor when my daughter was 3. You know what I mean? Like there were choices, hard choices that we had made because I wasn't just protecting one. I had to protect 5, you know, plus the wife.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I know that we couldn't have changed the outcome. You know what I mean? Colin was choosing, making his choices.
Every human being is born a sinner,
at
enmity with God, and has their own path to walk before the Lord. And there's plenty of perfectly good parents who end up in this boat.
Right. So I kind of, you know, with God's help, like I comfortable is probably not the right, but I'm okay with my role. You know what I mean? I don't feel that responsibility of where he was at, you know?
So just because I know for sure there's probably at least 4 people that are coming to mind right now that are in like a similar boat as you.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to help them if they don't feel the same way in their own circumstance? They're having a hard time putting the bag of rocks down.
Put it down. Yeah. Man, that's you got to lean into the Lord. You got to lean into solid brothers and sisters around you. It's okay to hurt. It's okay to feel responsible, but it's not your fault. Just because you have the feelings that you're responsible doesn't mean you are. And you need to give that to God. And I know that there's great people that can help counsel you through that sort of thing around this church. And even outside of the church, talk to people. Give that burden to Christ just like you did everything else in your lives, for talking to brothers and sisters out there. Guilt is from the devil. It's not from God. He gives us, enough for repentance, but
perfect love casts out all fear.
Yeah, it's from the devil. If you're feeling the guilt for actions of others, that's not God putting it on you. That's the devil. And that's easy for me to say, like sitting here, I've gone through it.
I don't think it is easy for you to say. It'd be easy for me to say.
But it's easy, like I could say, like, you'll get over it, right? Like you'll get through this, you'll survive it. But that doesn't mean that it's going to happen tomorrow. Again, we're at 9 years now since he's died, and JoLynn still, times happen. Of course, those anniversaries, the birthdays, Thanksgiving, brings it back up with her. Like it'll probably never be completely gone, but God will work at it. He'll carry you through these things, and God will put people around you to help carry you through those things. You have to let them. You have to be open about what you're feeling. Tell people when you're hurting. Dump it on friends.
I find now that I work here and become privy to this situation more frequently.
Yeah. Which is a hard burden
there's
to
just
bear.
So much shame, illegitimate shame, that people don't want to even. You find out eventually, and you're like, I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know that you're walking around, because people don't want to tell you.
Right.
I just want to encourage anybody out there listening. You should not feel ashamed about it. And the way out is through the body of Christ ministering to you. Like, you're not going to do it alone.
No.
And it's not uncommon. Two of my neighbors that were within 3 years of age of me, one a couple older, one a couple younger, on my street are both deceased. It's like on, at least in Sunshine and I's generation, it's almost on it's like in every neighborhood.
Yeah.
That, of every walk of life.
Every demographic, every financial situation.
Well-to-do parents where all the other kids are, who knows, doctors, went to college, whatever, and one of the kids...
It's doctors.
Yeah, it's doctor. Mike and I were just talking about something totally different, but it's just applicable. Like, the darkness never helps anything. Like, step one, bringing it into the light.
Yes.
Whether it's you're struggling in your marriage and you need counseling, or whether it's you're suffering from depression and anxiety, which we've talked about on here before with Isaac, or on Tina Talks, or in this case, you have a child that is or formerly was struggling with, like, a chemical addiction. Yeah, just bring it to the light and let your load be lightened. By the people around you.
You said it's step one always.
Step one always.
Just bring it out.
I need
Give
help.
it to God, and then make sure you're letting your brothers and sisters around you know.
Yeah.
Help carry you through it.
So, what's next in the story? Now it's sunshine and rainbows and unicorns.
Yeah. So we got Braden. This is when we've moved up up this way, started to attend.
Started to come to Church of Harvest
up here because we moved up. We were kind of at a spot where we weren't sure where. Yes.
Well, just for reference, because you and I are very familiar, and I think Sunshine knows, but Faith Community Church, which was in Freeport, Pennsylvania, eventually became the Natrona Heights campus. We took it over. It was
first it became Freeport.
It was Freeport, then Allegheny North, then Natrona Heights, and now, spoiler alert, it is being replanted as Pacific Avenue Church under Pastor Vince Jeremita as an independent church.
I'm pretty excited for Vince.
I'm very excited.
When I talked to him after hearing about the change, he was like, "Well, I don't know what they're going to do," and which he probably had an idea of what they were working on, and then spilled the beans.
We weren't
to
allowed
me.
to tell him.
Yeah,
or
he wasn't allowed to spill the beans.
Yes, forbade him from telling people.
He did a good job of it because I, was praying for him, hoping things, and he probably was already worked out, wasting my prayers, Vince is a great guy,
So when we ended up absorbing FCC, which ended up becoming our Freeport campus, which is where I came into the picture and met Mike Harvey at Freeport and got baptized in that whole story.
I had just got out of the way.
Yeah, so you started attending Harvest through that, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I attended
the Sarver Church first.
Yeah. Went out to Sarver to New Life out there. I'm sorry, Saxonburg.
Yes, Saxonburg.
Attended there for a while. That's where, when Colin had
Colin's
died.
funeral.
After that, I started to attend Cross Point down in Harmerville. A smaller church. He taught the Bible, though. You know what I mean? He preached through. And what was funny
Amen.
It's hard to find, guys. Find Bible teaching churches out there. Because we checked a couple out, and there's some that just aren't.
Crosspoint is still there, I think.
Yeah, it should be. They were they were up to 2 services in that little church. I won't be surprised if they're growing, if they're out of a building, getting into a new building. Mike Brown was the pastor down there. I'm forgetting the wife's name. She was wonderful, Missy, right? She kind of ran the kids ministry. Just great people.
Why'd you guys leave?
Braden. Well, that's when we moved up this way.
So you moved to Fort City, and it was too far.
Moved up to Fort City, and it was like, that's kind of a far drive. And then we got lazy, didn't go to church for a little while. And then it's like, hey, honey, we got to get back to church. And she's like, well, what do you think? I was like, hey, we got to go over to Harvest. I already knew Big Fred and Griner from being down at FCC, because we started the eldership program down there, and they helped with that.
So before we took over FCC, Fred and Mike were asked to kind of help Pastor Chuck. They wanted to do eldership, plurality of elders, which you were in that group.
Yes.
So you had already rubbed elbows with
the upper echelon
with Pastor Mike and Pastor Fred.
Not as much with Mike,
more Fred.
But Fred, because there was some times, like, again, because of issues with my marriage, there was times I came up here and talked with Fred. After FCC changed, I don't trust people very easy, which I know sounds
That's
weird.
Still true.
I'm telling all 7 people out there my life story, but I don't trust people very easily. So I came up to Fred because I wasn't going to go to strangers to talk about things. And there's some things that you need to talk to your pastor or a pastor about. Case in point, meet with Mike Harvey once in a while, and Harv blew me off this morning. So then I had to go get lunch with Will Harv. I hope you feel bad about that. But the nice thing with Harv is I can go talk to him about things that other guys don't need to know about. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
Like sometimes you just got those certain guys that this is my guy for this. You know? And he's my go-to. And it's not that I have to see him all the time for breakfast, but we like to get together. I reach out to him or he reaches out to me, and we have a good time. But, back to it, though, is that, so I came up, talked to Fred a couple of times, Big Fred, when I needed it. And so finally when we moved back up this way, I was like, it's a no-brainer. I know Harvest is teaching the Bible up there. I know that they've got good leadership. I understand their leadership structure. It was like, just show up. So we did. I I still hid for a bit because just like heartache from things before. I came in. I talked to John Strait. He made sure he was shaking hands, and then Gene. Like Gene sat like near where we sit because JoLynn's one of those. You got to be within the first few rows on the right side. That's the only place we can sit.
She's got a spot.
Yeah, she has her spot. I'm the back of the class guy. But she drags me up there. But Gene sat up there, and Gene was one of them guys because we went socialized. We'd go in, and Gene would usually be in there earlier. So like Gene and John were like the two guys, and I'd always get their names mixed up all the time. But I tried not to talk to anybody. My goal was to, I was centered enough in myself. I don't need any friends. And then God was tugging on me to get back involved, to get plugged into something, and like where you're thinking like, oh, what should I do? Start talking to people more. And then Nate Adams' big fat head popped up on the screen, and he's like, hey, we need people for Crave. And I'm like, I kind of looked over at my wife, and her head like shot straight around. She's like, I think that's where you should be. You should check that out. And sure enough, that's what got me plugged back in. Started helping out with Crave. Got to be good buddies with Nate Adams, Nate Forster, all them guys, If I'm allowed to throw, I'm name dropping. Yes, I am. I'm that way.
Does
Solid
your life
dudes.
feel more complete now?
Yeah. I feel solid. I know I got a list of phone numbers to call when something sucks that I need, help with. I need to talk about things. Need someone to keep me in check. I always advocate. If I'm screwing up, call me out. I don't want to get back to where I was, anywhere near to where I was.
Yeah. Oh, amen. It's so awesome. I'm just thinking of so many things. I'm thinking of the Matt Unger video we played recently, which was essentially like, if you're intimidated but don't know where to plug in, just step out, give something a shot. Or Sean Hartman's video, basically saying the same thing of participation in the body of Christ really is where it's at. It's like when you start participating that you feel the love of Christ through his people so much more. You feel the support of Christ through his people so much more. Like it shocks me that you were sit in the back, don't talk to anybody guy, because you're kind of like one of the mayors of the campus. No. That's what I see. Doesn't everybody know Jim?
Oh, yeah.
Jim's one of the John Strait characters. Like John Strait's one of the guys who met you.
Yeah.
And he's another one of the the mayors of the town. I feel like most people know you.
It's funny
you
you
and John
said
Strait.
because like when my daughter started coming up here with us, and she was like,
Everybody.
Dad, you know everybody.
I'm
you know,
telling
and
you,
it's
you
like
just walk through.
I don't know if I look at it that way. I just figure I was a big guy, so everyone noticed. I don't know. I don't know that I'm up that mayor status, but the fact is though is that I love the people. I love the people, and they love on me, and that's what I need. And the fact is, like I said, I don't trust many people, but the bodies I trust are under this roof. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
And yeah, and like you said, it's about serving together. Like I think your spouse, your marriage, serve together. Your friends, serve together. That's when you make bonds. Is when you're doing God's work with others. And that's what happened with Crave. Got in there. I'm the old man, right? I'm old. We're dealing with teenagers. I even told Nate while we were on a trip somewhere, I'm like, I'm only going to do this for like a year, and then I'm out. Like I was just a helper with small groups at the time.
Just so you know, that's what he said too.
Yeah, I can imagine. So then next I'm teaching the junior high age. Like he's like, oh, we need to split these guys up. And you guys that are involved in youth ministry, everybody's afraid of the junior high age group, because especially the boys, right? Because we were boys in junior high. We're idiots.
They're stupid. Yeah.
I was like,
they're not actually stupid.
I'll teach them, and so like, but yeah, and I miss that because I've shift gears to a different ministry now, and it's one of the things I miss is being there not just for the kids but with the adults, like being able to see those guys week after week. because those were bonds. Like, I leaned into those guys a lot with troubles. Because, again, like, life didn't become magically simple after I came to Christ, and it's still not now, you know, and you have to have that.
Yeah, you're old.
Yeah.
And you have like a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
8-year-old.
Very active.
Makes you remember how much energy you actually had when you were 30, right?
I don't believe that I did have that kind of energy. I joke with him because, like, I used to race his dad and his uncles, you know, like when they were his age, because I was young.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You
And
won.
we'd be at a picnic somewhere, and they'd be like, "You're not that fast." And I am that guy. They did not win.
Yeah.
You know, like when they started winning things is when I stopped doing them.
Yes.
And I
totally get
treat
that.
Braden the same way. He doesn't win, except for, like, we play Connect 4 a lot, and he's starting to win. And it, like, I'm thinking like that game's going to disappear soon, you know?
Well, my kid's young enough. We play memory. There's like the 25
flipping the
cards,
over.
flipping the cards. She's starting to get good at it.
Yeah.
And it's like, ugh.
It's time to find a new game.
Can't play this game that much longer.
Why
How
don't we
about
try
chess?
chess?
Yeah. All right, so,
That's it.
you have the gray hairs of wisdom.
Yes.
I know you've preached before. We've covered a lot. The floor is yours. Any fundamental words of wisdom that you want the 5 listeners to hear? The young men Doughboy who just got married to Sunshine, or the other early in their marriage couples listening, or couples who are in the trenches, not getting along. You know.
We got a lot of different categories to cover. Like,
Well, you get to pick.
so I get to pick.
You get to pick.
So for guys like Doughboy, you know, I think he's
They're
done
the
well.
starry-eyed.
Yeah.
They're on the highlight reel right now. We're
Right.
4 months in, and this is awesome.
Everything is awesome right now. But he picked well, you know, and that's not to, you know, not trying to blow up Sunshine any. But, gentlemen, if you're a Christian in the church, you need to find a woman in the church. Women in the church, you need to find a man in the church, someone who is following Christ and working on their sanctification, who's actually wants to be a better Christian, not just someone who's showing up on Sundays, guys. You know, you need to, you know, Paul says it, you got to be equally yoked, and you're not going to change a Christian, a non-Christian. You're not going to change a guy who thinks showing up on Sundays enough. So, you know, make sure you're choosing to start with, because if you make that mistake and you're dating an atheist in the first place, then there's no ground to stand on. You know, again, I'm a rules guy, right? I can take my wife and I being saved, we can look in the Bible and we can determine things that are right and what's wrong, you know.
See, JoLynn is saying
basis
it's
is
your
there.
fault
Yeah.
because you married Jim.
I shake my head and wonder sometimes why she did, and so does she. But that would be the first step. Again, for older people that are maybe looking at a new relationship after you know, a failed marriage or whatever, if you've got children, you need to work on that. You guys have to have a plan before you commit to each other. You need to commit to raising children together. I think it's grossly overlooked in our society nowadays. I think we miss it in the church a lot too. I think that, you know, with those types of situations, and even with adult children, maybe you guys need to have conversations. But definitely make sure you're going into the whole marriage, not with the twinkling eyes and the fluttering heart, but, you know, you need to make sure that you're working on your marriage before you even get married. You know, you need to plan ahead. You need to counsel about those things, because once you get married, you know, like you said, now you got a roommate that is going to be messing with your stuff. Why did you rearrange the kitchen cabinets while I was gone over the weekend? You know, not that we've ever had that discussion in my house, but yeah. So stick with it. Lean into older couples, lean into pastors at the church. You know, if you're here at Harvest, there's plenty of people to lean into. If you're not, you know, at your church, find somebody, even if it's just to talk to them, to blow off steam. If you're not happy with something your spouse did, you need someone to go talk to that who's not your spouse, who's not your best friend, who's going to be taking your side in the situation. You need to find someone solid who's going to tell you what's right, what's wrong, and help you work through those things. So, again, it all comes down to the body of Christ. It's, putting God first, surrounding yourself with the body, and putting things in the light when there's problems. That would be my final word. Although I've got plenty more to the story, as you know, brother.
Well, I want to give a praise to your wife, because I'm thinking of a verse which I just looked up because I didn't remember where it was, but it's in First Corinthians 7. So, because your wife was a believer, through many years where you weren't, and things were not good,
right?
Even when you guys were living apart. I know I don't want to go into the details of this, but some might have even said she had license from the Bible to let you walk away if you wanted to.
There probably could be an argument for that.
But there's an exhortation in 1 Corinthians 7. It's 1 Corinthians 7, 12 and onward. 13. And a woman who has an unbelieving husband, and he consents to live with her, she must not send her husband away. For the unbelieving husband is sanctified through his wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified through her believing husband. For otherwise your children are unclean, but now they are holy. Yet if the unbelieving one leaves, let him leave. But in 16 it says, For how do you know, O wife, whether you will save your husband? Or how do you know, O husband, whether you will save your wife? And I'm thinking, reflecting on your story, that JoLynn, as a believer, although we didn't talk about her story, she said, in God's sovereignty, who works out all things for good for those who are called according to his purpose, hey, Jim, I want to start going to church.
Right.
And here we are.
Yep.
So, JoLynn, thank you for being part of this body and for bringing your family with Jim into part of this local body of Christ. And thanks for really sharing your story today. It's I know it's a heavy one. I know there's a lot we didn't even touch on. So, for you guys out there, if any of that stuff is striking a chord with you, find somebody to talk to and bring it into the light, whether it's one of the pastors, one of the elders, somebody you trust.
Seek me out.
Just anybody you trust, whether it's you're on the rocks in your marriage, you're carrying a burden you ought not about a child, an adult child who's got addiction issues or anything in between. And thank you, JoLynn Seagriff, for being patient with your unbelieving husband.
Thanks, babe. Yeah, she's put up with a lot. I don't deserve what I get. Well, I deserve some of what I get, but not the good stuff.
All right, guys. We'll see you around the block.
Have a good one.